Good afternoon to you all. And on behalf of the Indian Dental Association Chandigarh State Branch, the International College of Dentists, Section 6, India, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, and the Indian Society of Dental Traumatology, I extend a very warm welcome to you all to this webinar series on dentistry during COVID-19. While this is the seventh webinar in this row, and I would take you through a very brief journey of our webinars. This is how we started almost a month back with our first webinar on endodontics, where Professor Logani and Dr. Anil Kohli graced the occasion. And it was followed by a webinar on prosthodontics. Dr. Gunjan, Dr. Hari Prakash, and Madam Beena Jain graced this occasion. It was followed by a third webinar in the row where we covered some aspects of oral surgery, and Professor Pravesh Mehra and Professor Vidyaratan were very well there on this for this webinar. And this was a mega event on orthodontics. Professor Sanjay Suri and Dr. S.P. Agarwal were there for this webinar, and it was later on, it was also joined by Professor O.P. Kharbanda. And this was the next webinar on periodontics, where we had covered varied aspects of periodontics related to COVID and others as well. And Dr. Balaji Manohar, Dr. Aman Bhatia, and Dr. Shaili Pradhan from Nepal were the speakers for this. And this was the last one where we had talked about tobacco control during COVID-19. And it was very well graced by Dr. R.K. Bali and Dr. Rakesh Gupta and Professor Sonu Goyal were the speakers for this webinar. And this is the seventh and the last webinar of this series. And as was just mentioned, we started with Dr. Logani, and we are thankful to have Dr. Logani again today. And this webinar is being chaired by none other than Professor Krishan Gaba, the head of Oral Health Sciences Center, PGI Chandigarh, and my teacher, Professor Vijay Prakash Mathur, who is the head of Division of Periodontics at CDR AIIMS. It's not only about the speakers, it is about the participation which makes any kind of an event successful. And it's a proud privilege to announce that we had been joined by more than 2,000 participants in these webinars. And these participants were not only from Chandigarh or Delhi or North India, but from each and every corner of the country. And not only our country, we had participants joining from Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, various parts of Canada, Kuwait, various cities of Saudi Arabia, Mexico, USA, Egypt, Myanmar, South Africa, Nigeria, and Cairo. So this was with this, I want to welcome Dr. R.P. Gupta, who is the president of Indian Dental Association, Chandigarh State Branch, and the president of International College of Dentists, Section 6, for his welcome remarks. Dr. R.P. Gupta, please.
Thank you, Arpit. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone in this webinar, Practical Tips for Managing Dental Trauma during COVID-19. Traumatic dental injuries is a public dental health problem worldwide. In a preschool children, head injury is the most common. Oral injuries make up 17% of all body injuries. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Krishan Gaba. Dr. Gaba is currently head Oral Sciences Center and professor and chair, Unit of Pediatric and Preventive Dentistry, Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. Presently, he is a member of Dental Council of India since 2007 and member of Faculty Medical Sciences, Punjab University, Chandigarh from 1998 till date. Dr. Gaba is par excellence clinician, academician, researcher, and having a vast administrative experience. He was founder, director, principal, Dr. Harvansh Judge Institute of Dental Sciences, Punjab University, Chandigarh from 2006 to 2011. Dr. Gaba has a great leadership quality, a man of values, a religious and a versatile and a composed person. It is very good luck to all of us that he acceded to our request to chair and moderate today's webinar. We are honored, sir, and thank you so much. We are elated to welcome Professor Vijay Prakash Mathur, Professor and Head, Department of Periodontics and Preventive Dentistry, Center for Dental Education and Research, WHO, Collaborating Center for Oral Health Promotion, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Dr. Mathur had been a Commonwealth Fellow of TUCL, London in 2014. Professor Vijay is a humble, dedicated clinician, teacher, researcher. We are all honored and grateful for joining as a speaker to this session. I may add here that Dr. Mathur is our ICD Fellow and presently he is the editor of our journal also. Dr. Mathur, we are all honored and grateful for you, for our invitation accepted by you for today's session, and thank you so much. We are delighted to extend a cordial welcome to Professor Ajay Logani, Professor and Head, Department of Conservative and Endodontics, Center of Dental Education and Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He is currently founder president of Indian Society of Dental Traumatology. He is the most popular endodontist of our country and an excellent academician. We are all grateful to you for joining us and introducing our today's chair and a moderator, Dr. Gaba. Thank you so much, Rohan.
Thank you very much, sir.
We are all honored with the presence of dental professionals and obliged to each and everyone for participating in this session. I am certain after this webinar, you all become more clear in mind that this large primary teeth is to be repositioned in rare to rare circumstances. Children's teeth are not fully developed at the time of injury and need special attention and careful follow-up, but all of them do not need root canal treatment in a mature permanent teeth. Blood supply to the teeth is there and stem cells in the region are there. They may stimulate the continued growth. I may add here that Indian Society of Traumatology is with us. Sometimes I think regarding the dental trauma, who is husband, who is wife among the periodontist and the conservative and endodontist person? This question lies before you, you can decide it. Because they are the two specialties with this society are always in touch. Now, we shall suggest be regular to all the audience with CD program, enhance your knowledge and believe in yourself. Success will come in the end. We would like to convey our gratitude to all present here. Thank you so much. Jai Hind. Now I will request Dr. Logani to introduce our chair and a moderator, Dr. Gaba.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, Dr. Gupta, for the introduction for everybody. At the onset, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Gupta, the president of the ICD, Sir Dr. Rajiv Chugh. He's the Secretary General for ICD. And now I would take the opportunity to introduce Professor Krishna Gaba. Everybody across the north and the south, west, east of India and abroad knows about Sir, but This is a ceremonial thing which I think I would complete. I was just been handed over yesterday a very, very long biodata of Sir, but as the time constraint would be there, I would try and just highlight his achievements over the decades which he has achieved. And at present, Sir is the head of Oral Health Sciences Center and the professor and chair for preventive pediatric and preventive dentistry at the PGIMA Chandigarh. He has an extremely long teaching experience, almost 37 years of teaching experience, and his students are all over the place. Three of our own faculties at All India Institute of Medical Sciences are students of Sir. So that is the volume of teaching experience he has. And I'm sure across India, his students are there. He also has had a very, very long administrative career. And as I said, at present, he's the head of the center at PGI, and he has many national and international research awards. He's been members for various academic expert groups, and he has already had a century of publications. For me personally, I've known Sir for 15 years, and for me, he's an epitome of being a very, very nice person. And in spite of his administrative heights, he's always taught us how to be on earth and how to behave and respectfully to each other. So that's my learning from him. And thank you very much, sir. And we're very happy that you've been able to chair this session today. Thank you. Thank you, Arpit.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And with this, Dr. Gupta, may we have permission to start with the webinar?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, Dr. R.P. Gupta, the president of Chandigarh State Branch of IDA as well as ICD, and Dr. Ajay Logani. Thank you very much for giving such a, vast and such good words you spoke for me. I don't deserve all this, but it's your magnanimity, and that shows how much you are, sort of big person that you are able to give me so much of honor. Dr. Rajiv Chugh, the Secretary General of ICD, and the speaker of today's function, Dr. Vijay Mathur. Apart from that, as I can see, many people from different areas, they are attending this webinar, and I heard that Dr. Nikhil Srivastava, who is the Secretary General of ISPPD, as well as Dr. Pandit and others. Well, my good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, I would like to congratulate Dr. Gupta and his team of another Gupta, Arpit Gupta, who have worked very hard, and they have really put up a very good show on this webinar series. And they have been really, looking at the good topics which are of interest for um, the specialists and the professionals. And of course, the COVID has taught us a lot of things. I must say that the people like Dr. Gupta, who are so opportunistic, even they are utilizing the COVID period and trying to, reach to all the professionals and teach them, ultimately aiming to serve the society well with all precautions and care. And the topic of today's presentation is, of course, really very good. That is the dental trauma and the practical tips for managing dental trauma during the COVID period. Since most of us are confined to uh, homes, and our children are also at homes, and the incidence of dental trauma during this period of COVID has increased. I am sure Dr. Vijay Mathur will be touching that area, and of course, while going into the details of the tips. And without taking much time, I had the um, honor to first introduce Dr. Vijay Mathur. I feel very proud Dr. Vijay Mathur, who is the professor and head Department of Periodontics and Preventive Dentistry at the Center for Dental Education and Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. And I really feel very honored and proud of it that Dr. Vijay Mathur has been our student at PGI, and he has always been doing very well, and a very hardworking person, very sincere, committed. He is the editor-in-chief of Journal of South Asian Association of Pediatric Dentistry, and he has been a Commonwealth Fellow to UCL London, and he has also been awarded with the Founder President Award of the Indian Society for Dental Research, as well as Dr. J.G. Kanappan Award for maximum citations. Dr. Vijay Mathur has more than 73 publications and contributions in the books. He has presented more than 320 papers in international and national prestigious conferences, and he's the most sought after speaker that speaks from the number which is there. He has been part of about 32 various research projects funded by different organizations at the national and international level, and he is presently working, with all his zeal on biomedical ethics, on research methodology, early childhood caries, dental trauma, and soft tissue lasers, tobacco cessation, counseling, and pharmacovigilance in dentistry. Dr. Vijay Mathur, along with Dr. Logani, they are the pioneers who had set up the Indian Society of Dental Traumatology and are really this society with this work and contributions over such a small period of time has made its own name at the international level. With these words, I present to you Dr. Vijay Prakash Mathur.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. And I bow to you as my teacher. And I also see in the audience, Professor Hari Prakash is there. So the people, those who mattered me the most while I was learning, they are there. So I feel little hesitant to speak in front of you. But yes, it's a responsibility given. I think I'll try to do justice to whatever the topic is being given. I have tried to touch the basic and commonest of the things which are required for dental trauma management. And I have not gone into the depth of COVID-19 pathogenesis and all because they have been covered in the past. So there's certain my take, my understanding on the current crisis and how dental profession is there that I'm trying to cover. So let me start my presentation. Thank you very much for a wonderful introduction by my teacher, Dr. Gaba. And thank you very much, Dr. R.P. Gupta, Dr. Rajiv Chugh, Dr. Arpit Gupta, and all the seniors, those who have come today to attend this webinar. I'll be talking about practical tips for managing dental trauma during COVID-19 times. And I belong to this great institute, which you all know. It has completed almost 64 years, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Within the same campus, we have a dental center by the name of Center for Dental Education and Research. And in order to honor the work done by this center and to have a partnership for future, WHO has given us a status of WHO Collaborating Center for Oral Health Promotion. Similarly, we contribute a lot to the government and help the government in the implementation of National Oral Health Program. We have also been granted the status of National Center of Excellence for implementation of National Oral Health Care Program. I do work in several areas, and thankfully, being in this institute, I had the opportunity to contribute to the science of dentistry and to my country in the fields of pediatric dentistry, dental traumatology, laser dentistry, National Oral Health Program, tobacco cessation trainings, public health and policy, infection control, research methodology, scientific writing, and overall the biomedical ethics for all. Personally, the life has been very satisfying for me with a lot of publications, recognitions, a good I-10 index and H index. My research case score is very good, and I can say with confidence that we have 13 publications either published or accepted till now in the year 2020, and the list goes on. Thankfully, I've got wonderful colleagues to work with in the dental center and in the department. Before I start my formal presentation, I would like to make declaration that there is no conflict of interest for speaking today. It is just a compilation of information and my own method of drawing conclusion out of the literature I have read. And I'm very happy to share this information with everyone. We all know that this current pandemic time, there's a lot of literature on novel coronavirus 2 or COVID-19. We all know about what it is, why it is dangerous, what are the world resources to know about it. But there are certain things which I would like to talk before I start my formal talk on dental trauma. There's a lot of misconceptions going on in the literature and the social media and some of our webinars. But my take is that the novel coronavirus 2 is an encapsulated virus. The capsule is easily dissolvable by the normal components of a healthy saliva. Then the second information which I want to share with you, and that's very important, that our dental people are getting confused with the presence of RNA for the diagnostic purpose in the saliva with live virus or a virus which can cause infection. So these are the two different things. Having RNA does not mean that it is a live virus and it is infectious. I have not come across any evidence to prove that live virus are loaded in very large quantity in the saliva of healthy asymptomatic carriers as of now. But yes, the dental professionals are at risk due to being very close proximity to the patients and for a very long duration. Then, why we are at risk? Because the reflexes of patients like cough, sneeze, and spitting in between the dental procedures, it cannot be controlled. And during this time, there is a likelihood of some of the mucus secretions coming into the mouth and which spread outside, and we are in the close proximity to the patient. About the dental aerosol, I would say that it is a misnomer. It is actually air water spray, and it cannot be compared with the current literature coming out during the last few months as high risk aerosol. These all are aiming at the study of the air inside the ICU, where all the patients are having fulminant infection in their body, and when they cough or when they sneeze or when they breathe or if they have tubings in their mouth, through all those methods, the air from the lower respiratory tract is coming out, and that is likely to have lot of viruses in the environment there. Then, during my deep search in the past 1.5 months, I could not find any evidence to prove that use of extra oral sections, extra HEPA air filters, putting near or far from dental chairs, putting a fan towards the head of the patient will reduce the spread of virus if it is there in the dental operatory. Then about the air water spray, let us talk a little more. The air water spray in dentistry is essentially a mix of sterile distilled water and the filtered air. This spray is directed towards your cutting end
for its cooling. If it strikes to an oral surface which has got some saliva on it, it may cause rebound salivary splatter. Means when this stream strikes, then there is a rebound. So these salivary splatters are not known for moving a large distance, but we are very close to the patient, so we are likely to get that salivary splatter and we are at risk. The amount of the splatter going into the air for a longer duration has not been studied till now. And those who want to clear their doubts on these aspects, they can read the most recent guidelines coming from CDC USA. That's guidance for dental settings and really updated recently on 17th of June. Then another colleagues, a group of colleagues from Canada, they have written a very good article by the name of Decoding Dental Aerosols. It was, it has been released on the internet on May 22nd, 2020. And very recently, a week back, the journal for which I am the editor-in-chief, the Journal of South Asian Association of Pediatric Dentistry, in which I have also written a little part of it as lesser known truth about COVID-19 in dentistry. Now let's come back to our topic of dental trauma. What happens when dental trauma is there? At the site, the trauma incident may or may not be seen by the person who's bringing the patient to us. So we do not get a correct information all the time. The sufferer of the trauma also does not know many things, especially about loss of consciousness, if there was a bleeding from anywhere else, for how long the patient remained unconscious, was there a vomiting, was there a ENT bleed, and so many vital informations are missing. And sometimes they do not know whether they lost a tooth or some part of it. Only when we examine and when we tell them, then only they realize, oh, this is not there. So these situations are very different when dental trauma happens and any other disease happens. Then the trauma happening at home, in a playground, in a fight, and in an accident. These all also are different entities and situations in which there is a likelihood sometimes you would know exact details of how trauma happened, the duration, and the extent of injury. And maybe they might have been provided with some of the first aid also. But certain things, if it's a roadside accident, likelihood of getting immediate attention is little low. But yes, these are different entities, and while handling the dental trauma, we should keep all those things in mind, and our case history sheet recording should record who brought the patient, how much they remember, and if they remember what incident was it. It would be very important. Then there's another important point which we often do not record and do not talk much, but important, especially in Indian context, that whenever somebody gets injured, especially in a fight or a roadside accident, they are in a fit of rage. They try to attack back the opponent, the person there, and many times, especially in the case of fights, they forget that they have got injured themselves. They forget to look after their own well-being and first see how much damage has been done to my car or to somebody else. And this thing sometimes increases the original injury of the person. The extent of trauma may increase, and sometimes they may miss certain vital things like losing a tooth. If they would have not been fighting, they would have found their own tooth and they would have come to the operatory. Now, can we triage dental injuries? Yes, we can. Many people give different classifications for triage, but for dental trauma, I would use only two words. emergent and non-emergent. Emergent may be equal to emergencies in our case. So what are non-emergent? They can be uncomplicated crown fractures, enamel fracture and enamel dentin fractures with least involvement of pulp or least sensitivity. Whereas emergent conditions can be certain soft tissue conditions like lip, tongue and buccal mucosa lacerations or avulsions, missing part of it. Then all types of crown root fractures involving pulp, all types of luxations and avulsions, the fractures along with luxations, fractures along with other maxillofacial trauma and alveolar bone fractures, these all are emergent conditions, and concussion may or may not be labeled as emergent, but for the time being we should consider concussion also as an emergent condition. Now, if you receive a telephone call from someone, please remember when it is a trauma incident reporting, please confirm what is the age of the patient, especially with respect to children and teenagers. It is very important for us to know for the planning of the treatment. Then the time of injury, mode of injury, and place of injury is equally important. If it is possible to ascertain which tooth is injured, will help you in the management. Then on the telephone only, if you can find out whether there is any other injury, especially in relation to face, is there any active bleeding which is not stopped? Is there any mobility of the teeth? And are there any CNS symptoms? Means loss of consciousness, vomiting, nausea, and bleeding from ear, nose, and throat. They are indicative of some type of injuries which is not limited to dental, and they may require more attention from our other colleagues rather than us first. So the life is more important than the teeth in this case. And during this time, if it is possible, to the communicator, please talk about the COVID-19 status, whether the patient has been tested, recently exposed, or at high risk. If you get these information, you get little more idea for preparing your operatory and your people for handling that emergency. Then certain things which can be done, remote management. I do not call it exact first aid. Technically, first aid may not be available everywhere, but certain things are possible at home, and remote management may be the more correct word. We can ask if the patient or parent found the broken fragment or the avulsed tooth. This information is very important for us. If not, and if they see that some tooth is missing, then they can ask the child to spit in a clean cup. Adults will be able to know that he has got something in the mouth, but a child may be asked to spit in a clean cup and see if there is any tooth part or a complete tooth in that cup. Then, if there is a bleeding, we can ask the normal instruction of putting pressure pack with cotton, clean cloth, or tea bags for 5 to 7 minutes and check, and maybe transport the patient. If the condition is not emergent, we should always give oral hygiene instructions and analgesics. Many times we forget to talk about oral hygiene, and we see people coming to us, those who have come after 3 days of injury, and for past 3 days, they have not brushed. In a fear of having bleeding or in a fear of having some problem, they don't brush for 2 to 3 days. So what will happen to the patient? It will go towards the negative side for the prognosis of the patient. And reporting to emergency care near to the patient's site is very important. That instruction should be given. You may got a telephone call from very far because your phone number was accessible. But please do not call the patient to your clinic. Try to send them to a colleague or a friend or to a place which you know which is closer to and can significantly influence the prognosis of the trauma while treating. Now, in the remote management, I would like to talk a little bit about certain non-emergent injuries like enamel fracture. For all kinds of communication related to trauma, apart from telephone call, online messengers can be very, very effectively used for emergency record, and even video calling can be used if needed. In fact, you can also ask the patient to use fingers to retract their lips and click pictures. And if they say no, it's an emergency, you can actually, nowadays it's quite easy to have a video call on a WhatsApp or Skype or something to get the exact assessment. Or if a passerby or somebody who's little educated in that area can also help in that communication, it will reduce further problem to the patient. But yes, if there's a enamel or enamel dentine fracture, which is a non-emergent, and if there is a severe sensitivity, at least applying a little bit of clove oil or crushing the cloves and applying that oil would give them some relief, some obtundant action to the pulp, and the patient will be little better before they reach to a dental operatory nearby. If there is no pain or problem and the sharp edges are causing pain or ulceration, then our females or ladies have the nail files at home, so that can be disinfected with any of these disinfectants or sanitizers available, and it can be used to grind and reduce the sharpness of edges. I don't say that it can round off completely, but at least the exact sharp point which is directly pinching or hurting the tongue, at least that can be reduced a bit. Then apart from that, if there is a fractured tooth and pulp exposure, even then applying the clove oil would be a little helpful in reducing the pain and sensitivity related to the pulp. And if it is possible, by some means, by keeping cotton or keeping the mouth closed full time, if we can ensure that the fractured tooth fragment is stabilized for some time by the time the patient is reporting to dental operatory, it would be very good for the future prognosis. In case of avulsion, please try, if the patient can understand your language, advise to replant the tooth in the socket. That remains the best concept. However, if it is not possible, putting it into a cold milk, or if milk is not available, at least cold water, coconut water, there could be several things which are possible. And bringing that tooth to operatory, and meanwhile stopping the bleeding, again using the same pressure pack at the site of avulsion is important. If we are talking on telephone and if they say that they have not found the tooth, at least give one chance to them to look for the missing tooth. If they find it, it brings a lot of chances of success to us. Replantations are getting successful these days. And then the next instruction is to tell them to report as early as possible for replantation to a clinic nearby or to you. It's very important. 60 minutes is the time which IADT gives for a better prognosis, but that is rarely possible to do it in our country. That fast, nobody reaches. The traffic problems, the transportation problems, availability of the people to bring to the patient to the hospital. There are so many things which matter in between. So whatever it is, earlier the better the message should be given. Now coming to scheduling an emergency appointment. So you have talked to some patient who is reported with a dental trauma. Please give them some time. And when you give the time, before that, you should have a preparedness. You should also have emergency team drill. Means the clinics which are handling emergencies, they should have already pre-decided plan as an emergency duty schedule among the assistant or the consultants, or if there are junior and senior dentists who will do what. If that is decided in advance, then it helps a lot and there's no chaos when the patient arrives. Your consent forms should always be ready. Please do not try to say that we did not take the consent because the patient was in an emergency. Consent is the most important part before you start any treatment. Legally, these days, you have to take a consent, at least take verbal consent and get it signed a little later. Technically, written consent is the legal document. So use your wisdom to do that, but consent is important. Then during this time, the information about the COVID-19 status recording is very important. Asking about symptoms related to COVID-19, asking about history of exposure, family, somebody's COVID-19 positive recently, and if they are under surveillance by the government for being high risk, all those things recording is very important. Then your COVID-19 kit means your self-protection should be ready in the clinic and your dental trauma kit should be ready. Now, what do I mean by dental trauma is, it's very easy to make a dental trauma kit in your own operatory. You don't need any specific thing for that. The things which you use day to day, but you keep them in different drawers. If you put all of them in one place, one tray, then your life becomes very easy. You should have stainless steel wire, which is 29 gauge or 0.4 millimeter, 2 needle holders at least, universal plier, wire cutter, a marker for marking on the wires for the length of it, the modeling wax to stabilize, suture material, then for the bonding agent, etchant, flowable composites or the composite, the curing light, the applicator tips, and sterilized cotton rolls. And there's something called as well, in which we keep the bonding agent before we apply. So all these things, if they are in position at one place, or maybe these can be the two trays, the two blocks which I'm showing on the slide, they can be two different trays because one tray is your almost everything related to your composite restorations and one tray is related to stabilization of tooth. So if you have these things well placed, so your assistant will not take much time in getting them to you. Otherwise, you'll keep shouting, bring wire cutter, it should be in the lab. Bring needle holder, it should be in the surgical kit. Bring wire, it should be in the orthodontic thing, orthoinfectant. These things, I would call them for the time being as a COVID-19 kit. Maybe in future also we'll require, but as on today, for managing dental trauma, you should have this kit also ready. So I've talked about trauma kit and COVID-19 kit. Now, I initially talked about at the site of injury. Now, when the patient is being brought, they can be brought immediately or it can be delayed reporting to you. There is a possibility that somebody has already tried some treatment. It can be a trained dentist or trained medical professional, but sometimes we have people who do everything, anything by fluke. They just try, like we say, every Indian is a doctor. So people try many other things and they say many other things. So you have to keep in mind all sorts of possibilities while taking history and while knowing about the patient, how much time it has been there. And we have to also prioritize. If we are seeing any other symptom that the patient is in between losing a bit of consciousness or shaking the head that they're not feeling well or feeling nausea, please leave your priority. Your avulsion may be taken care of later. This may be an indication of some intracranial injury. So please send the patient first for neurological evaluation and plan your things. Remember, dental trauma is also likely to have many times legal implications. So your recording, your noting down, everything is very important. And if you can write all those sequence of events, in a sequential manner, that will help you in your decision making, as well as if somebody else wants to look at it, it will be of great help. Now, when they reach hospital, they can be conscious oriented. Sometimes they may not be conscious. They would have lots of queries. They would have their own conclusions. They would be a state of confusion. Sometimes they are in a sense of threat that this has happened to me in the corona time. Oh, I'll get corona positive. Your hospital already has so many patients. So we have to think of all those things and handle those with patients. Sometimes the patients will have undue demands, especially when it's a child. The parents would be shouting on you, please correct my child's teeth. We do not want to see him like this. We do not want to see our child crying. Even that can be a demand. So how to handle? This is all your patience. Your experience will help. However, when they reach, you have to still see the general physical condition, talk about any possibilities of comorbidities. Patients do not talk much. They do not tell you until you specifically ask. So please ask for comorbidities, especially diabetes, hypertension, previous histories of surgeries, asthma. These all are very important for the dental trauma point of view. Then asking about whether there was a bleeding or not is important. Then when you are examining, the site is visible or not, is it filled with a lot of blood clot? So you clean and then you see, oh, suddenly that there's no teeth inside, or the tooth is intruded. So these things are important considerations while we see the trauma. So when they meet you, first important is to ask about history of loss of consciousness, vomiting, nausea, bleeding from ear, nose, and throat, any possibility of having epilepsy. Did anybody record that? And comorbidities. Now, when I am talking of all those things, many of our patients have their own thought process. They think that it was an epilepsy, but it was actually not. The patient was shivering in pain and people thought it was epilepsy. So it is very important that we dissect out the history which they give, ask for verbatim information, like what did patient say? If the patient spoke something, what exactly were the words, not the what they have understood. So a verbatim information is very important while taking medical history and reaching to your diagnosis. It's very important. Then, when we see such patients, what should we do? We should first give reassurance that there is a likelihood of the treatment for you. We will be able to help you. Seeing any types of trauma, you should remain composed. You should not get panicky. You should not show any panic on your face. You should have the controlled language and controlled movements when you are talking to the patient and talking to your staff. And while giving the instructions to your staff for a trauma management, you should be using technical language, not a common man's language. This also creates panic among the patients. So your language, your movement, your instructions, everything should be very well controlled to handle a dental trauma. Then, even if you've taken a history, general examination is the first thing to do. See for any visible injury, not only on the face or head region, but also ask for movement of the hands and legs, ask for any pain in abdomen. We know several such cases where the patient did not report anything and there was intra-abdominal bleed and the patient died while we were still examining the teeth. So those kind of things should not happen. So visible injury, recording of vitals is very important. We are not in a habit of doing it. We are not in a habit of holding the hand and seeing the pulse of a patient So it is little tricky, but while handling the trauma, it is very important to not only see the vitals, record the vitals. Then examining the neck, often the injury to head and neck region, to the teeth is associated with neck, and a neck injury can be very, very dangerous or can be fatal. So examine, at least see for the neck for any injury or pain in the neck, you can ask. And you should also see for the responsiveness of the patient. That also gives you some idea. Now coming to specific examination in relation to the parts which we are concerned, you have to look for the face for the symmetry, swelling, signs of fracture, should look for lip for visual. You should also do palpation. And if you think that there is something embedded in the teeth, a radiograph of the lip can give you an idea that some tooth or some bone is, or some external particle is embedded in the soft tissue of the lips. Radiograph will help you. You should palpate for the bony outline to find out any fractures. You should see the number of teeth in the mouth, their positions, if there are any fractures, any cracks, mobility, and you should also watch for adjoining gingiva. Sometimes only gingival symptoms can give you an evidence that this tooth is fractured. The fracture line is not visible. In the immediate after injury, you may not be able to see the fracture. Then also see the buccal mucosa and palpate it. Our colleagues in the oral surgery, they would often mention this, that palpation in the buccal mucosa mostly give them the diagnosis of Li-4-1 fracture of the floating maxilla. So even if you are not a maxillofacial surgeon, if you are a general dentist or any other specialty, please examine the buccal mucosa and palpate it. Any undue amount of tenderness with no visible tear or laceration can also be a fracture of the alveolar bone. So it is better to refer to our colleagues in oral surgery for the further management rather than jumping onto the dental treatment first. The gingiva can be examined with visual and the probing around the teeth. The palate should be visually examined. Floor of mouth should be examined visually, but if you see any doubt, you can do bimanual palpation and see if there is any hard material embedded in the floor of mouth. Sometimes that can also happen. So before going to your correct diagnosis, please make a tentative problem list, tentative diagnosis, prescribe relevant investigation, and in between, if you see any chances, anything which requires referral, please do not take any moment, any minutes to decide about referral. Please send them first. All the dental injuries can be taken care later after neurological investigation and after investigation by our colleagues in oral surgery. And take immediate steps if any is required, like maybe replanting the tooth. You may not stabilize, but at least you can replant, and you can tell them to first go to a colleague in oral surgery and then come back to you. The immediate management for us is bleeding control, knowing COVID-19 status and taking precautions accordingly, replantation. If there is a fracture fragment, you can put it in distilled water for rehydration. It gives water band strength. Suturing is also an immediate management. Symptomatic relief giving by advising analgesics for oral intake. And sometimes if it's acute pain, an injectable analgesic is okay to give. Prescribing medicine also comes under immediate management as relevant to their condition. And the thing which is not written elsewhere in other countries, but in our country, it's quite common to have a preventive vaccination of tetanus for all the patients. The investigations which we can advise are generally various types of x-rays. And if you suspect that some tooth is missing and nowhere it could be found, then a chest PA can also be done to find out if the tooth has gone inside into the alimentary canal. Nowadays, CBCTs have come. We have some experience of getting CBCTs done for trauma cases. Not possible in all cases, but yes, before doing strong intervention or long-term intervention, if possible, do CBCT to find out the 3D imaging and get the correct diagnosis. The diagnosis confirmation should always be done after careful analysis of the history, the current symptoms, the clinical signs, the tests which we take to see the vitality, mobility and all. Then the diagnostic tests or investigations which are done like X-ray or CBCT. All those things should be completed and then you should confirm the diagnosis. You should not just jump on the diagnosis with one of the things and not involving all the four components. And when you write the diagnosis, we used to have the habit of writing Ellie's class 1, 2, 3. Then in between the WHO classification came. Then several other classifications. If you start listing, there could be 9 or 10 classifications. But I think the best one is to write the complete narration like fracture of enamel and dentine for tooth number so and so, fracture of enamel, dentine and pulp for tooth number so and so, or maybe writing completely along with diabetes or along with alveolar bone fracture. If you write complete, then it becomes very easy for others to understand, and when you send the patient to other colleagues or for the diagnostics, for them it is important to know what is your diagnosis. Now, I told you many things what you should do, and most of the books, most of the guides would say, but what you should not do is also very important while handling trauma cases. So you should not commit any diagnosis before doing investigations. Many times the patients or their relatives would be shouting and asking you, Dr. Saab, kya hua hai? So you have to tell them with calm, composed voice, let me examine first. Let me do the investigations first. Then I'll get back to you. Then you should not be commenting about the prognosis. You can say that we can definitely help you. Let us see how much effect it gives. We will try the best, how much effect it gives. We should not commit directly that, no, you'll be fine in 10 days or you'll be fine in 10 minutes. No, that's incorrect. Until you complete your investigations, until you reach your final diagnosis, you should not be commenting about the prognosis. You should be commenting only about your expertise. Do not comment about injury to other areas or other regions. Send them to relevant specialists. Do not start treatment before your final diagnosis. Do not overlook other relevant medical information. And also, as we are in the dentistry and we are several specialties, please refrain from commenting about the treatment to be done by your colleagues. Like, I'm a pediatric dentist, and if I have to send for extrusion of a tooth which is intruded, if I want to send it to a colleague in orthodontics, I would always use the word that I'm sending to another expert of this subject. We need that person's help for your treatment. They are likely to help you in extrusion of this tooth. These are the correct words. But if I say, please go to this friend of mine, he's an orthodontist and he'll extrude your teeth and send back to me for the repair or for the build-up of the crown. No, please leave that particular person's expertise, his subject to him. Do not comment about others. Maybe if you say that that person will be able to extrude, and if that person examines and says that no, it cannot be extruded, there is some other problem, or he does not have anchorage tooth, then so technically we should speak only how much we know about our own subject. Maybe even if it's an oral surgeon, yes, you can tell them that my colleague will be able to help you more than me. He's expert of this particular subject. And similarly, they will also talk about you. But if you start commenting about other specialties, then it creates a problem sometimes in the understanding of the patient. Sometimes patient comes with a different kind of mental attitude, and they come with a mental makeup. And if you say that it is not possible as an expert, they would think that you do not want to do. So we should avoid such kind of things. What we should talk to the patient? We should briefly talk about the method of diagnosis and its confirmation. If the patient is well educated, they would understand and they would like to know how you reach to the diagnosis. We should convey them the course of treatment which you are directly rendering. You should also speak about the prognosis, but always remain guarded. Even if some treatment success is 99%, do not say it is 100%. Tell them that almost all the cases, use the word almost all, use the word in most of the times. Do not use the word all cases. And do not try to boast around that all cases I have done have been successful till now. So we all are human beings. We should remember that if till today, in the past 20 years, if I have done all the treatment was successful, it's no guarantee that in my 21st year of my dental practice, I will not make mistake. Therefore, we should be very, very clear in mentioning about the prognosis, about the success of treatment. We should be very clear in speaking why you are sending somebody to consultation, what is the expertise of that person, what you expect, that after this, when you come back, what all answers you expect. Like when we send some of our patients for cardiac clearance, then we expect an answer from the cardiologist that it is safe to extract the tooth or it is safe to render this particular kind of treatment for this patient. So exact wordings about the consultation and expectation after the consultation should be mentioned to the patient. You should always be very clear in mentioning the warning signs and reporting in case of urgency. Like after you have done a treatment, which is probably root canal treatment, and after that suddenly swelling appears, or if you have done some splinting and after that still the bleeding is not stopping from that area where you did the splinting, these are all warning signs. So we should tell them that these are the warning signs and you need to report to us, or at least give a call to us. It is important not only to write the medication, give them the instructions about the normal medication, when they should take, with meals, without meals, with water, or whatever way it is. And we should always mention which of these drugs are for SOS usage, or when there is acute pain you can use. Now comes, you've reached to the diagnosis. After that, you try to follow some guidelines. And many times we make mistakes by thinking that the guidelines are the short, or in Hindi you call it Ramban. But that is not true. I would like to say that all the clinical guidelines are the flow charts for effective or evidence-based decision making for a treatment of a clinical condition. They are mostly systematically arranged data, or there could be true evidence, there could be some consensus, sometimes there could be only opinions. And all of the tools work on probability key. 100% possibility is not there in any of the guidelines. They only guide you. They are not the key to success. And the clinical guidelines have actually been devised for teaching, learning, and incremental care system only. They do not guarantee you the success, and they do not give you the legality in case of any problem. Your clinical decision making, your clinical sense, your experience matters the most. The guidelines are your support tools. In my next slide, I've written here, the available guidelines are actually clinical decision support tools. Some of the tools available are IADT Dental Trauma Guide, which ISDT has now adopted. The Injured Tooth app is developed by one of our colleagues in India. There's a Click Trauma app. There's Accident app. There are so many methods of helping you in making your decisions for dental trauma. All these guidelines and apps or methods, they have certain strong points, certain weaker points. So we need to take the best of it. But yes, it is important that we should have one of those guidelines with us in our operatory available for helping us. Again, I'm using the word for helping us. They are not short key to success. Short key to success can only be your vigilant eyes, your brain activity, your analyzing the knowledge, you applying your knowledge carefully for the patient care using those guidelines. Now, how do these guidelines work is, these are all condition-based algorithms, but most of them describe single conditions. So if the same tooth has got a fracture and also luxated, then you do not have answer in those. So you have to combine many. And in the same mouth, if you have one avulsion, one luxation, and then dental fracture also, gingival laceration also. So you have to use your own wisdom, which one to treat first, which one to stabilize first, and then how to have the overall treatment planning. These tools mostly are having history and visual inspection kind of parameters for giving you the decision. Some of them also use radiographic findings. But again, I said, they are not always evidence-based. They are also opinion-based guidelines. Everything does not have evidence. So, in summary, I want to tell you that, remember, before seeing trauma in a tooth, you are seeing a human being. So be gentle, use reassuring words, check vitals always in all trauma cases, have dental trauma preparedness in your clinic. You should have emergency protocol in place. You should have role assignment for your team. Dental trauma kit is very, very important. Emergency drugs and the checklist is important. And your good understanding with your colleagues in other specialties, multidisciplinary team support will give you a very good results. And guidelines for diagnosis and management are there to help you. So treat the patients as a whole, be human. Your clinical judgment is superior. The tools do not guarantee a good prognosis. Thank you very much. This is a picture when we launched the Indian Society for Dental Traumatology. So in this picture, one person is missing is Dr. Ajay Lugani, who is there on the screen next to us. Somehow he was missing in this picture. 2017, February. This is the Dr. Alex Mule, who was the president of International Association of Dental Traumatology at that point of time. And other colleagues are Dr. M.S. Muthu, who is the secretary for ISDT, and Dr. Nitesh Tiwari, my own colleague in my own department, and is also joint secretary in ISDT. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Vijay, for very nicely elaborating the practical tips for managing the dental traumatology, the trauma, in especially taking into consideration the COVID situation, and even emphasizing on various areas like the COVID status of the patient, the family, the friends, etc. And then even briefing all about the dental aerosols and managing the dental trauma. I'm sure there must be many questions. So from the audience, because they are very learned audience which is there, participants who are there. Dr. Anil Kohli is there, Dr. Chawla is there, apart from Dr. Ajay Logani and others. So I'm sure there must be many questions. I will try to see how many questions are there over here in the Arpit, there should be in the chat something, no?
I think there are some questions in the chat and some people
Gaba, let me ask him.
Yes, Dr. Hari Prakash. Yeah, please, sir. Sir, good afternoon and very
Dr.
nice to
Kohli.
see.
Good afternoon,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good to see you. ठीक है sir, आप बताओ. All well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kishan, I have a question. Firstly, I must thanks Vijay for wonderful presentation and
Thank
you
you,
are
sir.
being coordinating. I have a very simple question because these days there is so much talk about the aerosol and other things. Now, like in a emergency case where we have no choice and with proper precautions, if something has to be done with the high-speed rail or something, what is his opinion? Because I heard other day Ajay Lugani and I was for that, wherever we have to do and we have no choice and we have to take proper precautions, so I think we can go ahead and do it. But I would like to know from Vijay, what is his opinion in case of need, especially in a emergency case, what is his opinion?
Yes, Dr. Vijay,
Sir,
please.
yes. Sir, as per the current guidelines, we are supposed to have the complete protection of the dental team. So it's complete coverage of the face, mask, face shield, head cap, and the complete coverage of the body and double gloves. That's what we are using. So we are doing currently in our department, and every day almost 2 to 3 emergencies are coming in pediatric dentistry. Children are playing at home, sir, in the lockdown. So when they play at home, they would break their teeth and they come to us. So it's not sir, the healthy carriers, if it is there, the likelihood of having the live viruses in their saliva is quite less. The load will be quite less. So probably we can do, sir. Acute symptom patients, yes, we have to be very, very careful. Then we have to use the negative pressure room.
I fully agree because there's a lot of confusion about aerosol. Lot of confusion.
Sir, Dr. Kohli, sir, on this very thing, as Dr. Vijay has already told, what all these precautions we are taking for ourselves. But whatever aerosols or from saliva, something can go into the air. So we have to take care of that part also.
Yes.
So generally in a multi, chair clinic, if centralized suction and centralized, compressed air, that can be avoided. That's better. Individual chair should be used. So one is that. Second is we have tried to make, and there are some, already available abroad. There are certain canopies. We made the indigenous one. Canopy, that covers the patient area, and it's a plastic covering which is there. I wish, Arpit, you might be having some picture. If you can, is it possible to show that canopy? In that we have made, even perforation. Our hands can go with the gloves inside, and the assistant hand can also go inside. And then on the top there are 2, 3, perforations through which the drill that can go. And we can use it, and that all will remain confined, and it's plastic coverage which is there, that's removable and can be thrown also. So that canopies will certainly be very used. A lot of improvement is being done on this, and there is one firm in Baddi which has already started making it, and we got made with the help of CSIO, that is the Central Scientific Instrument Organization. And but still there are a lot of improvements which are needed, but it's quite helpful and we are using it.
Good.
Can I add something? I'm Dr. Chawla.
Dr. Chawla should add up here. He's the senior most guy here. Good morning, sir.
Without my turban. Can I add something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
There are mainly 2 areas of inlet, 2 portals of inlet. Apart from eyes, which have got a very limited role, nose and mouth. So first and primary thing is to limit the patient. We ask the patient to gargle with iodine and brush with the pyridine,
before,
again and
yes.
again, again and again, again and again, so that the quantity that we have given is finished. Then for the nose, what we give is the earbuds. You know the earbuds? We dip it into the solution and add it, you should apply it inside the
In the
nose.
in the nose also, yes.
Because here the virus is most fastidious and there's a lot of germination of this virus. So once you have covered these two holes, two inlets, then you should have a very high power variable suction, extraoral suction, which is available these days for about 94,000 rupees.
Yes.
Which we have bought. I'm talking of the practical way, which I am using. Then it should be kept in a way so that when you run the handpiece or the ultrasonic scaler, majority of it is flowing into that. You can see it flowing. It is not the smoke test. Smoke is very light, whereas the spit that comes out or the water vapors are very heavy. So we need a very heavy suction. And with the minimum noise, the decibels should not be more than 40, so that you can work and you can converse also. This is all what I wanted to add. Thank you.
I agree, Dr. Chawla. I'll give you logic here. Like we talk about the washing of the hand and we talk about the brushing before going for the treatment. Now, both the things, whether it is you're washing the hand with the soap or you're cleaning the teeth with the toothbrush and the toothpaste, both has the detergent. I'm forgetting the name, SLY or something, which is common in both the things and which reduces, I will not say it completely eliminates, but it reduces to a greater extent the virus load in the mouth as it does by washing the hands and all. And you are absolutely right. There are certain things cannot be practical in times to come to practice. So there has to be something to be understood. People have to understand that you have to live with it with proper precautions.
That's right. That's with the end sentence. But I must congratulate you, Dr. Professor Vijay, for an excellent depiction of the things. You did it very, very well. And one could understand the in and outs of the things. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Vijay, I'm sure there must be many, in the audience who have the, inquisitiveness to know the role of some pre-mouth rinsing while, tending to such patients, that which mouth rinse should be used and whether that has got some role to play or not. If you can please throw a little light and we can have discussion on that.
Sir, very recently, sir, on 8th of June and 12th of June, we have got 2 more publications coming out, finding out the efficacy of mouth rinses on the live viruses in the oral cavity. And both of them are the 2 agents, which one is chlorhexidine and one is betadine, povidone iodine mouth rinse. So betadine has been found to be a little more effective, but they say that chlorhexidine is also effective.
Quite effective.
So less than betadine, but yes,
which percentage, 0.2 or 0.12?
Sir, 0.2.
0.2, okay.
You know, we have a Korean study on this, on hexidine, chlorhexidine. It's equally efficient. And it takes care of the virus, both pyridine and this, for 2 hours totally, and then the load starts increasing for 4 hours. So we try to finish the patient as fast as possible and do not extend it for 45 minutes. For be in the protective zone always,
Yeah, that is very important. What sir is saying, because the contact has to be more than 30 minutes as has been seen. So try to finish the work as early as possible so that the minimum contact is there with such patient, suspected patient, if it is there. So that's
Dr. Lugani will agree with me that all these procedures that we do, endodontics, it does take a little more time. And particularly, now another thing what I wanted to add is, most important thing is to apply rubber dam. And majority of us, I exclude myself for saying so, majority of us, we do not know how to apply that.
That's the bitter truth.
I am trying to do something, so I'll contact you so that you can help, so that you can teach everyone how to apply rubber dam in a simple way.
You have written a nice book, sir.
Oh, that's a long time, but now I've
I
added.
have that. I have that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in such cases, where dental trauma is there, so application of the rubber time is very important, and that will take care of many things. Anything else, please, from anyone who wants to contribute and comment?
There are a couple of questions in the chat, I believe.
I tried to see, one was of course on mouth rinses. Then basically one is on Arpit, if you can say it's on reimplantation. That
Yes, sir. So it's,
you
it's
mentioned that
can we use povidone iodine for as a storage media? As
so
well?
that has been, I think,
Answered.
talked about. Yeah, yeah. And Sanjeev Singh has written that, do you think we can modify some of the clinical trauma guidelines in this COVID era?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Mathur, can you comment on this, that there is a possibility?
Sir, ISDT team is working on it, sir, and I think another 2 to 3 weeks it should be there for all of us. So it's already on, and anybody who wants to contribute can write a mail to ISDT or any of the ISDT members. We'll be able to take it forward, sir. So then I saw one more question, which was on whether it is safe to reimplant Eval's tooth in diabetic children specifically. So for that, I have the answer that if it is a controlled diabetes, then the likelihood remains the same as if it's a normal person. But generally in diabetics, all treatments, the prognosis remains guarded. We cannot say with surety, but it is not a contraindication. So replantation in a diabetic child, yes, we can do. Any more questions, Arpit, you can see?
Arpit?
Really, sir, I think we have answered most of them. There are two people who have raised their hands. Dr. Bhavna, if you can unmute yourself, if there's something to say.
I didn't see.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Sir, good afternoon. Actually, I've been trying to put my question. I was not able to actually get into that question box. So my question is, it's not a question, it's a request that if you could please give us another webinar on recent advances in reimplantation. The prognosis becomes better as we all, I think everybody in the country who all are joining this webinar would like to hear Dr. Vijay from, speaking on reimplantation, recent techniques, and how we could increase a better prognosis in that particular Eval's tooth.
Ma'am, today morning we had a discussion with Dr. Arpit Gupta, who is the president.
Okay.
And he requested for another session on dental trauma, maybe 3 or 4 hours it will require to cover many aspects. Today I could only cover the just overview.
Yes. That's absolutely okay.
Only
but
the
definitely
general knowledge thing which is not mentioned in most of the
absolutely.
books. They directly come to the clinical patient. So I try to do a bit of work today.
But definitely a request that next time we should have it.
Yes, we will have, ma'am.
Yeah, because this is need of our. Thank you.
Ma'am. And Dr. Logani is there as the president of ISDT, and I'm sure
he'll definitely.
And he'll promise.
Thank you.
To get it.
He'll definitely. You all will do. We're grateful. Wonderful presentation. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arpit, any other question which is there, or any other hand which is there?
If somebody else is having a question, we can see one more hand is up. I think that
no,
is.
Sir, it is by mistake, sir. It went mistake.
Arpit, I can see one question: how to do fixation of tooth with wire? So there are splinting techniques, and we will be covering it in the next lecture whenever we plan. So that cannot be answered in detail here. Then there is one question on what should be the minimum GSM of PPE to be worn during treating patient. Now, this GSM has been, the standards of GSM has been changed by Government of India from initially 80 to now 72. Even 67 is also available these days for only examining, not for operating.
Well, Dr. Ajay Lugani, any comments from you, please?
Very much.
Lugani? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir. And I must congratulate everybody, starting from Vijay to the International College of Dentists, to PGI, to the IDA Chandigarh branch for having brought up this topic. We all understand that our experience was during lockdown that no doubt the dental trauma on the roads went down because of the less of traffic and because of no alcohol being sold, but the amount of trauma inside the house, both domestic violence, child abuse, and normal dental trauma went up. So I think the clinical tips is what is required. As Madam Call said, that a detailed presentation on reimplantation would be required. And I'm sure that with the PGI and the ISDT, ICD and IDA Chandigarh, we'll soon get down to all those things and have something like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much, Professor Gaba.
Grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Logani. It has been really nice presentation. Anyone else want to
There is a
comment
hand
or
raised
ask
by
something?
some international participant, I believe.
Yes, please.
I can see Dr. Gautam Munjal, Dr. Virmani is there. Dr. Ritu Dugal is also there.
Yeah, sure.
Nice
So many
presentation.
seniors are there. I saw Dr. Shobha Tandon also coming in. Thank you, ma'am, for joining.
I think
Very
so
well presented, Vijay.
Thank
Appreciate.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, sir, with the permission of the chair, should I end the discussion round here?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can sum up now and end over here. It has been nice and gone very well. And thank you very much, Dr. Vijay. You made such a nice
Thank you, sir.
presentation. And my special thanks to the senior professionals and the senior members of our profession, Dr. Chawla, Dr. Hari Prakash, Dr. Anil Kohli, I mean, who all have contributed, and to all those who have really participated in this, Dr. Shobha Tandon, I could say Dr. Ritu Dugal, Dr. Pandit. So it's really, really nice, and thanks to everyone for their contributions and participation. Arpit, please now. Go ahead.
With this, I just want to ask Dr. Kohli if there are some closing remarks from your side, please. No, sir, your voice is not there. You are muted, I believe.
Kohli, sir, your mic is muted, sir. We cannot hear you, sir.
Is okay now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
What I was saying,
yeah.
this is wonderful
Yes,
on the part of the, as a person, R.P. Gupta, Dr. R.P. Gupta. He has taken a lot of pain and he is doing under the banner of ICD, IDA, but it's not very easy to conduct. And every time he chooses the right people. And I'm so happy most of the time we find people from the top institute of the country, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And we are really grateful for his selfless service. And we congratulate him and congratulate Dr. Gaba for coordinating, and to Dr. Mathur for doing a wonderful job. Because in children dentistry, you need a lot of patience, and you have to understand, if you are not having patience and you are not cool, you cannot handle the patient. And patient is always right. You have to listen to him and you give him the comfort zone, and you have to give him full confidence. Okay, we will be able to do, and especially in COVID, your responsibility is much higher. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kohli, for encouraging and boosting our morale and working on this. Dr. R.P. Gupta really deserves, special applause from all of us. Really appreciation.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. I mean, he has been doing.
He works behind the curtain.
Dr. Gupta, heartiest congratulations. Wish you can come and say, few words towards the end, please, before Dr. Arpit concludes it. Dr. Gupta, please.
Yes. एक मिनट जरा आएगी जरा मेरे को कहना बोलने को जरा करता है अरे मेरे को कहना बोलने
Sir, it's working, sir.
Everything working.
Everything is working.
Good afternoon, sir.
RP Gupta, sir, it's working. I think you can go ahead.
कल ले लेंगे कहीं और से।
नहीं वो है तो सही मगर ये मोटा है
गोपाल एक मिनट बुला दियो उसको
You know, this is a problem with all of us when we rely on our children and grandchildren to do so.
भाभी को बुला दे
किसी को बुला
Dr. Gupta, it's working. You please just speak. It's fine. Yeah, we are able to hear you. And we are able to see you also.
I think sir हमारी आवाज नहीं सुन पा रहे हैं.
I think there is a chat box. There is somebody from International Circuit wanting to ask a question, Vijay. I think you should answer it. Just check the chat back.
Yeah, there is, but
just
can
check.
I ask?
Can you please go ahead with your question? I'm sorry, I'm not able to read and spell your name. You can please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question.
Hello, thank you everyone for this wonderful webinar. I want to ask you if there is a patient and he's far away in the desert or somewhere, and he's maybe 6 or 3 hours from the clinics, and he has an accident and his tooth is dropped down or something. What can I do for him? Or
So,
what can I advise him to preserve the tooth as much as he can till he reaches?
Well, Dr. Mathur?
Yes.
You would like to comment that he
yes,
wants
yes.
to know that if some patient is at a very distant place, say 3-4 hours, and he happens to, get into some dental trauma and tooth comes out or something broken, or then what all a person, dentist sitting at the far off place can do
If
and
we
guide how he
can speak to the clinics and milk and come back after 3 or 6 hours, can I place it back in the socket or just throw it away? We can't
In no case,
do any
in no case
treatment
to,
for
to
him.
be thrown. Yeah, in no case should be thrown. The first thing is if they can place themselves into the mouth, that is the best. If it can be placed back into the socket, that remains the best modality for the time being till the time they reach to the operatory. In case they are unable to do, then the other option is keeping in cold milk or keeping in the mouth in the vestibule. If the child is not very small, they can keep in the mouth. And in case milk is not available, nothing is available, at least keep it in a wet environment and come to you. 1 hour is the time which IADT gives for the good prognosis. However, if we replant after 3 hours or 5 hours, prognosis may be poor, but you may also attempt. So, but ensure that there is no dental-alveolar trauma and you can attempt a replantation even if it is later. But the best is to replant at the site by the patient. You can guide them telephonically, replant it, and then they can reach in 3 to 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever time it takes.
Or guide on video call also, that can really help. Video call will help. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello.
Dr. RP Gupta is ready now.
Can you listen to me? Arpit?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon. Sir, thank you to all of you. It is all your participation that made us to work after each seminar. And it is not a single-handed work. It is all teamwork. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Now may I have the pleasure to invite Dr. Rajiv Chuk for a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Arpit. I don't think there is a scope for formal vote of thanks. Everybody has thanked everyone already, but it's my proud privilege here to extend a formal vote of thanks. First to the chair, Dr. Krishan Baba, speaker, Dr. Vijay Mathur, and we have a very elite participation, very senior dentists present here in the program today. Let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Hari Prakash, Dr. Anil Kohli, Dr. H.S. Chawla, then Dr. Treja, and Dr. I.K. Pandit, Dr. Ritu Duggal, Dr. Ajay Lodani, and Dr. Dhamija, Dr. Lehel, Dr. Gautam Munjal, Dr. Shobha Dandan. Just to name a few, I might have missed out quite a few other senior practitioners, but excuse me for that. So whatever names I could grab, I have mentioned. But all of you attended this program in great numbers. We must first and foremost thank Dr. Kishan Gaba for agreeing to chair the session today and moderating it as well, and participating in the discussions and giving his very valuable inputs. It has always been a pleasure to be associated with him professionally and personally. I know him for the last 38 years, and I've seen him excel professionally, technically, and we have worked together in DCI and many other committees of Government of India. Thank you so much, Dr. Gaba. And I also like to thank Dr. Vijay Mathur, speaker today. He's one of our board members of ICD. He's the scientific editor. He's holding key positions in Indian Society of Dental Traumatology and also in Indian Society of Dental Research and other posts. And I think you did a great justice to the topic today. You covered practically everything which is relevant to any clinician, whether in private practice or any government setup or academics. It was a great presentation, and I'm sure everybody had enjoyed it and are looking forward to another program on management of Awal's tooth. And surely Dr. Gupta would, I'm knowing his capability, I know he would very soon organize that. I must thank our President, Dr. R.P. Gupta, President of the International College of Dentists and IDA Chandigarh State Branch, because he is the one who took the initiative of starting these webinars. And today is the 7th webinar. And all of them have been successful, extremely appreciated. And the choice of the speakers has been great, and number of participants have been growing with each webinar. That shows that how popular these webinars have become. And I don't think Dr. Gupta will like to close this webinar series, probably continue, maybe spread out a little more. We'll probably have to reconsider your decision, looking at the response you are getting. I'll also like to thank the IDA Chandigarh State Branch, especially the Secretary, Dr. Arpit Gupta, and Dr. Varun Bajaj for organizing these programs and making sure that it is covered in social media very well, and also inviting other participants to come and attend this program. And any program is successful only when it is well appreciated by our attendants. And today I have seen great numbers and a lot of senior people participating in this and attending this program, which is very encouraging and speaks very high of the quality of the contents of this webinar. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you once again, Dr. R.P. Gupta, for a wonderful program. And I'm sure you will come up with some new program very soon. Thank you, everyone. And over to you, Arpit.
Many thanks to you, Dr. Rajiv Chugh, sir. And with this, we have come to an end of today's program, and also probably to an end of this webinar series on dentistry during COVID-19. While we promise to continue our efforts in bringing more programs to you, and with the whole motive and the whole agenda of promoting oral health. And with this, I am Dr. Arpit Gupta, the General Secretary of IDA Chandigarh State Branch, signing out. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.